Hey, what's up? This is Andy Hurley from Fall Out Boy, and you're listening to The Expansion Project.
Before we start the show, I want to tell you all about the newest project I just launched a few weeks ago called BreakParallel.com. It is a website where we curate and aggregate the best content from the functional fitness community. So that means videos with your favorite companies and from your favorite athletes. It also means dope photo galleries and, of course, all the latest news coming out of the industry. So please bookmark the site, BreakParallel.com, and check back every single day and show us lots of support. Welcome to another episode of the Expansion Project podcast. I am your host, Fat Tony. Thank you for joining me today. On this show, I have casual yet deep conversations with professional athletes, entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, bloggers, investors, and other people that I find to be either successful or just plain interesting. And the reason I do this is to expand my mind and yours while motivating and inspiring people along the way. My guest today is Joshua Solorio, the founder of RX Action Agency, which is an athlete management company that represents CrossFit Games and other functional fitness athletes like Kenny Leverich, Jon Pera, and former NFL football player James Townsend. Josh has owned a handful of different businesses and companies across several different industries over the years, but of course what I really wanted to dig into most was his agency. After listening to this episode, I think you guys will have a much better understanding of some of the inner workings of the business behind being a professional athlete in the functional movement community. Before we jump into the interview, I want to thank you guys for telling a friend and sharing the show because, after all, that's the only marketing we have here. So thank you for that. Also, thanks to those who have left a 5-star rating on iTunes and left a positive review. And anybody else that leaves a review, I will read some of those here on the show and give you guys a shout out. So go to iTunes, click 5 stars, and leave a review. And last but certainly not least, please click on theexpansionprojectpodcast.com. And on the right side of the page, we've got a few affiliate links up there for Chef Kate's Nut Butter, Amazon, and NutriSumma. And if you go to NutriSumma.com and use the promo code FATTONY1, you'll get 20% off your entire order. Again, that's NutriSumma.com, promo code FATTONY1. Now I will welcome my guest to the show. Joshua, thank you for making the time for me today.
Hey, not a problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for the listeners out there, this is the first time Joshua and I are meeting. I think maybe I shook your hand briefly at a Grid League event at some point.
I agree.
But it was super quick, and we didn't actually connect or anything. So since I don't know you at all, let's get some of the background and basics out of the way. So tell me just a little bit about yourself, kind of your background in life and fitness and in business. And, you can make it kind of brief, but I'll ask some follow-up questions in there too.
Yeah, for sure, man. Have a business background. RX Action Agency is my 8th company I've started in my lifetime. I love business. I went to college later on in life. I went to college more just like later on just because I wanted, that more of an education. But I started my first business when I was 17, and I haven't stopped since. Functional movement came into my life like 2.5 years ago. I'm 33, so I was like right around that 30-year mark where honestly, man, just me and all my friends were just getting out of shape, and I just was not ready to let it go. But when you're 30, all like you have left to do is like play underhanded softball, and I just was not ready to become like that guy. I had a friend who one of my businesses that I own, like my main business in my life that I still have it. I own a general contracting firm, and so that funds most of my life. And so one of my friends came to me and said, hey, I'm opening a CrossFit gym. Will you build it for me? And I said, yeah, not a problem. Like, he's a close friend. So right away we're going to hook each other up. And he's like, you should join, And I was like, well, and I remember my first comment was, I don't do gymnastics, so I'm not going to do CrossFit. And he just laughed and was like, come on. And he's actually a great guy in great shape. So I took his word and I started CrossFit, and I have not looked back since. So that's kind of more like that background, and then started doing CrossFit. Like I said, I'm friends with Jon Pera, and my wife went to college with Jon Pera and his wife, and so we were having lunch, and Jon kind of expressed to me about how he felt kind of taken advantage of in the business side of CrossFit. He was kind of, at that time I didn't know anything about sponsors or anything, and he was telling me about how sponsors are always late on their pay, and they always want his time, and I remember making a comment like I kind of made a joke, or I think he made a joke about like, man, you're a businessman, I wish you would help me. And I just remember thinking, because that's how every business I've ever started has been. I owned a property management company. I owned a tanning salons. And it's always just random. Like I never, it's just random things. And so when he said that, I just kind of thought like, I wonder what it would take for me to start a sporting agency. And I remember looking it up. There was no kind of license or anything. What I found was the NFL has like the highest standards for an agency, and you need to have like a physical location. You need to have a lawyer on staff. You need to have all this stuff. So I followed the rules of what the NFL would ask, and I thought that'd be good too, because then people would never be able to challenge like the legitimacy of what we were doing, especially in a new sport like CrossFit. I mean, everything's new, or a new sport like functional movement. So yeah, that's
yeah, cool. That's some good background and basics for sure. So I definitely had a hunch that you had other businesses going on, and that this wasn't your first endeavor or anything like that. So you said you started pretty young with business. You mentioned tanning salon, and you got the contracting business right now. What were some of the other businesses you did along the way?
Yeah, I opened a property management company with a partner like in 2008, 2007, and again, my companies have always been just out of opportunity. The economy was going bad and people needed to rent. And so it made sense. It made sense that people are going to need to rent. And at least in my lifetime, that was the first like big depression we've had where it kind of affected my peers. I was too young before the 90s depression. And so it made sense. So me and a friend opened a company called the Rooted Group. And we would maintain properties people who wanted to rent a place and the people who needed to rent it. So stuff like that. Like I said, tanning salon. I was out to dinner with my wife and literally walked by a building and it had a chain around the door. And I remember thinking like, oh, I think that's when like the government seizes a building. And I looked inside and it was a tanning salon. And I was like, oh, I wonder, like I just kept thinking like, I wonder if I get a discount. And then literally the next day, a friend of mine called me and was like, I'm thinking about opening a tanning salon. Like, what do you think about that? I was like, oh my gosh, I just saw. And so, yeah, every business I've started, it's always just been just random starting. When I was young, my first company was a t-shirt company. And of course, it's because my friends did skateboarding, BMX, surfing, snowboarding, and that's what you do. You start a clothing company,
Right,
so every company I've ever started has been just very systematic and like we're very responsive to just my life.
Yeah, kind of the stimulus around you and based off of everything going on. Yeah,
Yep.
So just to fill in the gaps too, so you're out in Riverside, California, right? Or in that general vicinity, Inland Empire area. So yeah, you grew up around Southern California culture with the skating and BMXing and everything like that. So of course, me coming from a BMX background, I know all about everybody trying to start a t-shirt company and stuff, and a lot of my friends did the same thing, which is a great way to kind of get into the business side of things and whatnot. So at what point did you decide that you wanted to learn more than you were learning through actually doing business and go to school and go to college and study it?
Yeah, I think for me it was I'll tell you two fronts, and one of the 2 points are kind of random, so bear with me. For me, I believe that I'm a very strong realist in life. I believe I'm very honest. Even in all my businesses and my interaction with humans, I always joke like I'm quick to argue. Like I'm very quick to argue, but the moment like you prove me wrong, I'm very quick to be like, ooh, good point.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I tell my staffs from all my companies, when you have a point to make, you better bring it. Like if you're not going to bring it hard, just don't even bother wasting your time, because I want them to know that I don't want to be right. I just want to do what is right.
Mm-hmm.
And so even like when it comes to my athletes now, being an agent is a very like committed relationship. It's just like dating. And I tell my athletes all the time, understand that when I argue with you and push back, it's because I want what's best for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so so why I went to college was honestly, man, at that point I was 28 or 29. And I just felt that I needed to be smarter. With our generation, grammar isn't the biggest thing. I mean, we text and we email and we have slang. And I mean, even the way I talk, I say like and random words that aren't appropriate all the time. And I just felt I needed that background, especially as we were coming into the agency. I deal with corporations like Nike and Reebok and GoPro and Monster Energy drink. And I mean, these people, there's a fine line between, I think young people think that everyone who works at Monster Energy is a 21-year-old fully sleeved guy, and that's not true.
Right.
They do have those people, but there are very well also 55-year-old men in suits that control the money. And so if I can't sound the way I need to, it's going to be a hard battle. So college to me was very much that. And then the other random note was theology has always been a curiosity of mine, religion, culture. And so I actually went to a Division II college called California Baptist University, and my major was theology. So it was very high emphasis on reading, literature, and language. So we had, from English, 101 kind of thing, but then I also had to study Hebrew and Greek and theology. So those are like the two reasons why I wanted to go to college. I didn't go back. That was the first time I ever went.
Right. That's super interesting. So what business at that point was funding your life and giving you the opportunity to, pay for college and do that?
Yeah. Well, so funding-wise, Solorio Builders has been around since 2004. And so we build like schools, custom homes. We'll do remodels for like friends or acquaintances of mine, but I don't do them for, like, we have a website, but I don't do it for like random people. Schools, churches, churches are large now, and then nice remodels are what we prefer to do. So that's always been my main source of funding. I have a great staff, and actually my brother really kind of helps run that. So so I was able to go to school. I went to school full time. I was a 29-year-old guy. I took 17 units every semester for 4 years straight.
Wow.
When it comes to actually paying for college, I actually got a scholarship. Not to brag, but I did. I got a scholarship and stuff. So it's inexpensive. That school is no joke, man. That school is like, God, I think it was like $30,000 a year, something like that. And so, I got a scholarship to go there though. So that was nice. It was kind of funny. I think I was the only student that would go there and attend classes, and then like once a month I had to go speak in front of like a business or a construction class there or something. So it was kind of a funny circle where I'd go into a class and like speak in front of like a construction 101 class, and then like 5 hours earlier I had just played one of them in the like rec roll basketball competition. Or so it was just kind of funny.
Yeah, that is funny. So I'm definitely still curious about a lot of the business stuff, but I have a lot of other things to get to regarding your current business and the one in the CrossFit industry and stuff. Are other businesses besides the construction or the general contracting business, are those still going as well, or is it just the...
No. I currently I have 3 companies, and I'm pretty sure that's the most I'm going to have. In my life, I've ran 4 companies at one time, and that was just stupid. So I sold the tanning salons to my partner at the time.
Okay.
And so he runs those now. So now I have the 3, the Solorio Builders, RX Action App, RX Agency. Mm-hmm. And I love RX Action Agency. I enjoy, I guess, RX Action App. And then Solorio Builders, I love it because I love customers. I love the customers that I get. I love designing beautiful things. Like we really design like stunning things, one of a kind. I mean, we built a school that was a church. It's also a church in Redlands, California, and it's stunning. Like if you saw the building, and that brings me such pride. I want to bring my kids to that kind of stuff. I want to show that stuff off. But construction's tough, man. I mean, construction. I tell people all the time when I speak at things for construction, when I go to school and speak in front of their construction class, I tell them, man, if you're not tough, do not bring it to construction. I mean, it is the Wild West. It has not changed. I could easily get in one fist fight a week, like no problem. I'm a 33-year-old man who's married and has 2 kids, and I could easily get in a fist fight once a week, every week of my life. If I wanted to, or if I didn't do things the way I did them, bribes and all of that is as rampant as I can get in one fight a week. I could bribe one person a day, every day, 365 days out of a year, and my jobs would go faster and things would be different. And so it's very wild. And as I get older, I am not as wild as a guy as I used to be. And I guess even my moral compass has probably gone up as I try to raise 2 boys in this corrupt and disgusting world. And so, when I was even probably 28, 27, bribing or punching some dude in the face who absolutely deserves it really wouldn't even be awake in my life. It wouldn't even... let's be honest now. I mean, if you cross my path now and you push me the wrong way, me knocking you out still doesn't bother me, other than I have these 2 adorable boys that I have to look at and teach them how to be good humans, and if I can't control myself, I can't tell them to not hit each other, and when you see it through my 5-year-old and 3-year-old, for me to think that, when I grew up, I wasn't the best guy. I just wasn't. Just Billy Bad A. Thought I can do what I wanted when I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have kids, and it just all changes. I think the thing that always got me was I was a little bit of a bully, just a little bit, and I just remember thinking like, what if someone like me tried to bully like one of my kids?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't change the world, but I can definitely try to change myself, which I think in the last 5 years of my life, it's kind of made me the man I am now, which makes me a better business owner. And I think it makes, if I was who I was 5 years ago, I couldn't be a sports agent.
Mm-hmm.
Just way too selfish, way too, I had zero emotions. I didn't really care. And now it's kind of what I do. I kind of care for a living now.
Mm-hmm.
I care about these athletes. I almost love them. I care about them a lot, man. There's a lot of interaction with them. We have some top level athletes like Kenny Leverich and Jon Pera and Chelsea Grigsby, but we also have a few newcomers that I think the world of, and I protect them like they're just my children. And it's funny because all these athletes are in better shape than me and probably bigger than me, but I would go to battle for them any day of the week. So,
it's
sorry,
funny,
I went a little bit of a tangent, but
you compared it to dating them. And I was thinking at the time you said that, and knowing the athletes that you represent, I was like, well, I wonder what it's like dating Jon Pera and Kenny Leverich. Chelsea Grigsby, maybe I can picture that one a little bit easier.
Yeah, totally different, man. But it is, man. It is true. I talk to them so much. I mean, so much. Thank the Lord, dude, that it's not like 10 years ago with our cell phones where like we had to pay like per text because it would be stupid. I mean, I have to have unlimited. Between email. I mean, honestly, man. 200 emails a day that need to be responded to. Like, I'm not joking. Like, I'm not saying, like, even a year ago or so, it'd be like, oh, yeah, I get 200 emails a week. But that's really like, well, 100 of them are spam. 50 of them don't matter. I'm talking like a legit 200 or 300 a day that need to be responded. I mean, when I get 20 emails from different departments at Nike, 4 emails from people at Monster, 10 emails from companies like Lives. I mean, what do you have to respond?
Yeah.
Like, you have to respond, So I try to pass those out to my employees the best I can. But at the end of the day, if Nike emails me, there's this guy, Brett, at Nike that we work with, and he's a great dude. We have 2 athletes that we have deals with them. I mean, when that guy emails me, I'm responding.
Yeah.
I don't care what I'm doing. So, it's kind of like dating because it's the same kind of I've taken that metaphor very far, but it is, man. I mean, when they text me, I need to respond. When I text them, they need to respond. When we talk about I know all their finances. I know all their bills. We do taxes for them. We have a lot of options here at the agency. So we are very invested. I mean, I would say 80% of the athletes, we know their parents, their siblings. I have their mom or dad's numbers. I've had long talks with plenty of the athletes' parents. I mean, even people like, I mean, even a great guy like Jon Pera. When we sat down to do this, the first thing we did was have dinner with his mom and dad and kind of talk about the plan. And you know, and it's important to me. So it is. It's just like dating. It's important, you know, to sit down and talk with the person's parents. And so,
and anybody listening that's not familiar with Jon, he's not a young kid. He's a full adult.
Yeah, he is. He's a sheriff who has a gun, who's 32 or 33, and you know, this is a big deal for them. You know, we sign them into these contracts that are long term, that have a lot of financial responsibilities. And I tell, when I've talked to anyone about this agency, I take it very serious because I feel that it's getting more professional, you know, and I just feel that we have an obligation to the future generations that I'll never financially benefit from to set a tone of being professional. Mm-hmm. You know, we trust me, man, we have fun. You know, my normal attire is definitely gym clothes, but we can't look stupid. We can't afford that. You know, when you start anything, you can, and listen, I have tattoos. I am younger, and I started something new, so you cannot mess up.
Yeah.
Because people are looking for you to mess up, and if you give them a chance to kind of disown you or disrespect you, they'll take it.
Yeah.
So we got to go in hard, man. So even when it came to picking our athletes, we probably get about 10 to 15 athletes apply to the agency every month, and so we do not take almost any of them. I mean, we have a very tough process to get through because, like dating, if I bring in one bad apple to my house, it's going to destroy stuff, you know? And we have tons of I mean, I don't know if you know all these athletes, but Calvin Davis, James Townsend, Kenny, you know, John, Chelsea, Mike Hernandez, Richard Hernandez, Nolan Gouveia, Josh Turks. These are a lot of personalities, man. These are a lot of personalities. And if I bring in some person who's just, I don't want to say evil, but people who are just bad. You know, if I bring them in here, they can destroy what I'm building very quick.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want that.
Yeah. So you mentioned kind of passing off things to your employees and stuff. How many people do you have working in the agency, and what are their roles?
Yeah, no, for sure. So it's always changing. It is, and that's code for I fired 2 people. So we had 4. I fired. I just say that we decided to go to different angles with the 2. I hired 4. The 2 were great women, great. They just you know, just different people, different roles. I need certain people, man. I really do. I have a certain personality, and I don't think like I am whatever. I don't think it's bad. I just think I'm a certain way, and if you can't respond the way that I need you to, you're not going to be as proactive and focused as I need you to be. And we're a startup, man. I mean, we got to go. We got to go hard. We go hard or go home, man. I mean, if you bring it weak in this office, you are not going to survive. So I have 2 employees now here, and we're actually going to pretty soon start looking for more. Whenever we do that, the way that we do it here is we put out open invitations. You send us your resume. We pick the top 30. In Riverside, California, there's a historical hotel called the Mission Inn, which is very great history. Great. Every president in the United States has been there at one time. Every president. And it's a very historic hotel. And we rent a conference room there. We bring all 30 people in from wherever they're from, and we interview each one of them. And they all sit there in front of each other. They all meet. We feed them. We give them drinks. And then at the end of that, we pick whatever we need. So we've done that once already, and that's how we picked our first 4. So right now we have 2, and we have a young lady and then a gentleman. And Richard is our legal support here, graduated law school, and takes care of all of our contracts and paperwork. I mean, the poor guy is a one-man band, and he goes against some of the biggest companies in the United States, or some even international with Monster or Nike. And he makes sure that all the legalities are tied in and appropriate and taken care of. And then he also handles our social media. It's something that I didn't expect him to, but he actually has a huge passion for it. I mean, he's built our Instagram account to like almost 10,000 in like 5 months. You know, we don't pay for followers or anything. He's just very interactive. And then we have a young lady named Ariel. She takes care of all of our design and all of our fashion. She does a lot, to be honest. Both of them do. But she mostly takes care of that. And then she actually handles just a lot of the emails are more sent her way. So she can kind of take a hold of that. But I mean, Richard and Ariel, they do a lot. My job obviously is a big deal, my interaction with these companies, but I mean, they're just as important as I am. Don't tell them I said that, but they are.
Yeah, got it. So let's talk about actually the deals, the structured deals that you provide between a client, a company, and your personal clients that are the athletes. So what does that process look like when you're securing a new deal for an athlete?
Yeah. So it can kind of work two ways. Obviously, the great way is when a company reaches out to us and says, hey, you have this athlete, we have this, and here's what we want, We do. Now, that's the first way. And so when that happens, it's perfect. They send us a thing. And, we turn down a lot of offers. Every athlete has about 3 or 4 ways to make money. Your attire, your shoes, your supplements. And then there's always like a random fourth, a watch company or a grip company, something random. So we have pretty much 4 ways to make you money at the most basic level. And so when, we have files on every athlete has sponsors, and there's always terms. And so it's our job to stay diligent on the terms, making sure that they're fulfilling. See, as a company who wants an athlete, we always brag that we're a good deal for them because you're going to get what you're supposed to get. The physical appearances, the social media post. Then we also have RX Action, so we can cross-reference any other kind of post. So if a company like, trying to think, let's say more of a functional movement company that has like 5,000 followers, but they're building. Well, if they say, hey, we'd love a girl like Chelsea, will she, wear our hat? Sure, we come to terms. And we help facilitate a lot of these companies because, to be fair, a lot of the companies don't know what they're doing either, and they're very honest. Like, once they realize that I'm a normal guy who wants people to succeed, literally 70% of the companies will go, Josh, can you just help us here? Like, we don't know what we're asking for either. So we kind of just figure it out. We figure out what their budget is, what they're looking for. Because there are things that we don't do. Like, I tell people all the time, like, we are not selling cars here. There is no negotiations. I know what my athletes are worth, and if you can't pay it, God bless you. Please come back to me when you can. But we're not going to compromise. I mean, this isn't, trust me, for every 25 deals, we turn 24 of them down because we're also not here. I've told this to a lot of startups, but we're not here to make your career. We're here to make our athletes' career. So if you're not ready to buy one of our athletes, no hard feelings, man. It'd be like walking onto like an Audi dealership and saying, I want an Audi, but I have $10,000. Well, they'd say, God bless you, man, but you just can't afford the Audi. So come back when you can,
right.
And that's how we treat my athletes is if you can't afford them, no big deal. I'll tell you what they cost and what it takes. And so that's one way. And the second way is us. I mean, dude, we are diligent in building. I mean, I've been building my relationship with Monster for 1.5 years now. And I mean, the first 2 times I went there, it was not invited. I mean, it was just, I kind of knew a guy who kind of worked there, and I just begged him to kind of let me in. And then I got in there, and then I met this guy named Greg, and me and this guy at Monster, Greg heads up the, Monster has a protein drink coming out. And so that's who we've been working with for, I mean, honestly, man, it has to be a little over 1 year now. But it's been, I mean, the first 5 meetings were, if people don't understand business, they would quantify it as a waste of time. But to me, it's like, no, this has to happen. Like, this has to happen. We have a lot of plans. We have a conference room here in our office, and we have just things written everywhere about like what we want in 2017, 2018, where we see finances go, and we have checklists. I mean, I'm not going to share exactly the money, but I mean, we had goals a year ago about how much athletes. So we have tiers of where an athlete ranks, and then we have, based off those tiers, what kind of deals we'll accept. But those tiers were made by us. Like, those tiers don't exist. Before you had Rich Froning. You had Camille LeBlanc, Bassinet. You had these people, and it's like they were making hundreds of thousands. You had Josh Bridges, which, I mean, these people are wonderful people. Like, I get it. I get the whole concept. Dan Bailey. It's like the same people in every commercial and every product line and everything. But there are some, the Kenny Leverages, the John, the Chelseas. I mean, we have these people. I mean, they're not my athletes, but the Lindsay Valenzuelas. There's these people that are great athletes. So we started setting up these tiers. And so we had goals last year for this year, and we met our goals. I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, honestly, man, we have athletes that are absolutely making a living off their sponsorships. And we absolutely have athletes that are making, I mean, you know, more than school teachers. I mean, we have athletes that are making and I pride RX Action in that we were diligent in our numbers. We were diligent in the way that we ran business, and we went after it. And I'm honored that here's one thing about our athletes, man, is that none of them have left us, you know, and I really take pride in that. You know, it's a lot. These guys go through a lot, man. These athletes, I know it looks like just a total dream, but it's not. It's very scary. And until this last year, I mean, the financial insecurities and the lack of stability, it's hard on them, you know. And so I'm glad that we've been able to come in. And at least for our athletes, we've been able to give them financial stability. So,
yeah. So talking about that tier and stuff, give me some of the, you know, kind of key performance indicators on these athletes. Like what helps make up an athlete's value when a company looks at them?
Absolutely, man. So great question. Well, like, let's be honest. The one reason why I love, and I'll give CrossFit, I'll just call it CrossFit. One reason why I love what CrossFit does for a human is, yes, it is an ideology on its own that clearly says if you do X, Y, and Z, you will become better. So with that quantifiable, like, physics, you should be able to say, well, you should be able to rank people, right? It just makes sense. If you're saying that doing this will make me better, then you should be able to rank us. Well, we rank you. So when an athlete comes our way, yeah, let's talk. I mean, and I do CrossFit. I take it very serious. My numbers are not impressive. I mean, okay. So I deadlift like 500 pounds. I back squat 405. I clean and jerk 265. Okay? Those are just average Joe Schmo numbers. But I know the sport to know what is great. Mm-hmm. So when an athlete comes our way and says, I want to be signed by you, the first thing out of my mouth is, all right, let me hear your numbers. Like, what do you, and just like in you and with BMX and with me, with surfing was like the one that I jumped into when I was young. You can tell by the verbiage that they start saying where they're coming from. Like if I sat down with you, it was like, yeah, dude, I did BMX too for 10 years. And you're like, oh, what'd you ride? And I say, a GT dyno. And then you would say, what kind? Which model? And I would say, oh, I don't remember. You can already tell by what I'm saying that, okay, like you didn't really do BMX, dude. Like you just had a bike.
Right.
It's the same thing with functional movement. A guy comes in and, you know, I say, what's your snatch? What's your 5-rep touch and go snatch? And they go, oh, like 155. Like you're already like, okay, well, that's already we already know what's happening right now, you know. And then they sell phrases like, you know, oh, I just started CrossFit a year ago, but man, I just I'm really good. Mm-hmm. Like the fact that they just said that already makes me go like, well, you just said you're really good, so. Because a real good person, honestly, just would answer my questions and not have to tell me that they're really good.
Right.
So we start ranking it off that. I mean, right away, like, I mean, we have a guy, James Townsend. James Townsend power cleans 405. I mean, okay, we're gonna have a conversation. Like, let's talk about this. You know, and then you know, we don't sign. We obviously get a lot of young people and a lot of people that are new in their careers. And, you know, but I want to hear them out. You know, I mean, that's how we find stars in BMX or surfing. I mean, these guys are young and they're stars, and we find young stars. I mean, we have this guy, Josh Dirks. I think he's like 22. He's 6'4", 6'3", 201, 202. I mean, the guy starts CrossFit. He clean and jerks like 335, snatch like 205. Now, and he's big too. It's the first time he does Fran. He goes like sub 3 minutes. You know, like, and I was like, how long have you been doing CrossFit for? And at that time he was like, oh, like 5 months. And I was like, yes, we are going to talk, you know, and then we start talking personalities and I start meeting their families and he, you know, and so with the tiers, we sit down and I do, man, like I have everyone's finances. I know what all my athletes' bills are and what they need per month. And then I tell them honestly, like, hey, start doing this or that. I start getting them these deals. We have great relationships with some companies that I know right away what their budget is. So I can go right to them. Hey, just sign this guy. He's going to compete in X, Y, and Z. You'll get your money back by this point. Can you pay per month for 6 months? And usually I know the sport, so they go like, oh, yeah, we can do that. Mm-hmm. So it gets my athletes money right away. And they're good contractual deals. So it makes everyone happy. Gives my motivation to my athletes, you know, and then we set goals. You know, I'm going to brag a little bit, but I believe we really know what we're doing, man. Because see, we set goals for our athletes too. Like they need to win. Mm-hmm. Like they need to win, and we haven't had to cut anyone for losing. So I think we have a good understanding of the sport. I think we know where we rank with our athletes, and I think we put them in the proper positions. We have this guy, Brett Fikowski. He's in Canada, and we brought him down for the OC Throwdown, and everybody was like, why would you spend the time and money to get – and it's because when we knew the workouts, I knew Brett Fikowski would smash every person so I feel like we know the sport. We know who should go where. Jon Pera won the Wadapalooza team last year with Nick Urankart and Wes Piatt. And again, people are like, really? Like, that team's not too old? And I just would just smirk every day in Miami and just go like, you just wait. And they won. So I feel like we really do have a good grasp on how to do this job. So.
Yeah. So going back to that kind of the tier thing, so you're looking at their numbers and their performance and their competition and stuff. Do you also and of course the personalities? Do you also look at their social networks like reach and things like that?
Not really, man. I mean, okay, yes. Okay, let me back up. Yes, we do. Sure, of course. Like, we want to see, we want to judge you from what kind of things you're posting already. I guarantee you, if you have a post that says white is right and go back to your own country, that I probably won't sign you. There are certain telltale signs where I just don't like the way you're thinking. So sure, if you have something super offensive on your social media when I look at you, yeah, I would totally just, because again, it's a relationship. And if I let one we have morality clauses in our contract. If one of our athletes gets caught with a DUI or, hitting a significant other or something, cut. Done. I don't even care what the explanation is. Right. I don't care. And I'm not judging them. I just don't want you, right. And so when it comes to, like, their following, I guess, it's always cool, like, when they have a big following, but I feel like, social media is tough, man, because it's so needed, I'll let every young person know who's listening to this. If you want to be noticed by big companies, yes, having a huge social media following absolutely will get you attention, like, for sure. Now let me tell young people this. If you suck at your sport, though, and have 250,000 people following you, you're just living in a warped reality because you're not that good. So I don't really care about their social media following, because if you're good and I sign you, you're going to become more popular because we're going to get you out there. And trust me, when you win a competition, when you get on a TV show like The Grid, or when you become, we have athletes that do commercials. When you start that stuff, you're going to get the social media following. So it's this very warped reality of if they have a big following, are they good? But then if you're good, you're going to have a big following anyways. But we definitely do not spend direct monetary value to get you followers. I don't care for that. I'm not saying it's not true, because obviously I know tons of CrossFitters that, look at it, man. You can go on social media, and there are tons of CrossFitters that can't make regionals that have 100,000 followers. I tell athletes all the time, if you want social media following, you shouldn't get signed by us. I'm here to get you monetary value and a career as a good CrossFitter. If you're here because you want to be popular and wear scantily cladded clothing, like, go for it. But I just care about your career. I just want people to win. Like, that's what I want. And if you win, you will get everything else that you need. Right.
So just playing devil's advocate here, when you're linking an athlete with a brand. Yeah. Wouldn't the brand look at their current following as value of, like, if they can make this many impressions, they're more valuable to me already?
Nope. No, honestly, man. No, thank you. Keep it coming. I actually love these questions. I'll tell you this, just straightforward. Absolutely. The two biggest sponsors that we have deals with, absolutely at one point, both of them said to me straightforward, man, I don't know if we're going to be able to do a deal with so-and-so because look at their social media following. And I literally had to have one of those awkward, serious conversations with companies that are 1 billion times larger than me. And I had to look them in the face and say, listen to me. You have athletes that are already signed that did not make the games this year. I have athletes that did make the games. If the world that you live in, if popularity is more important to you because your product isn't good enough on its own, then we also should not be doing business. Yeah, and that's awkward when you say that to big companies. That could financially ruin you. But luckily for me, we still live in America, and those companies were like, no, that's a good point. So, yes, man, like, you are right. Trust me, if we, of course, the perfect storm is a guy to be as handsome as Jon Pera or Kenny Leverich or as pretty as Chelsea. They each have 100,000 followers, and they're both Games athletes. Of course, that's a perfect storm. But if I had to pick or rank, it's just the person and their talent. Because I can create social media followings, and I can create everything else. I can make your finances appropriate. I can give you the proper coaches. I can do everything else, man. If you need a pass to one text message, one phone call, I can get an athlete to any competition I want. But you got to bring the thunder, you know?
Yep.
And so, great question. But
Got it.
Yeah, it would help, but I don't really care.
So, you know, out of all the competitions out there, having the Grid League pop up a couple years ago, or last year, rather, how much does that help kind of leverage you now as just having another platform? Like, how big has that been to your business?
Yeah, now, it's been big. It has been hard, you know? I mean, I do know the higher-ups at Grid. We are not that close as in relationships and stuff. I know the owners of some of the teams, and those guys are wonderful people. They really are. You know, they are trying as hard as humanly possible to create. And I'll tell you, man, I'll put anyone in check. If you have not created a business, I don't want to hear your opinion because you have no idea. Everyone talks about, like, man, I wish I had, not everyone to me, but you read books, you see, man, I wish I had the freedom you guys do when you own your own company. I'm like, oh, kids, you have no idea. I mean, I have easily gone 3 or 4 days without sleep. I mean, most business owners have. I mean, you know, so I give the owners of the teams a lot of credit. The Grid as a whole, you know, I don't have any inside trading on them or anything like that, so I can just be honest, you know. I'm excited for it. There are some things that I wish that they would do a little bit different, but I'm very thankful that they have given these athletes the opportunity to show the world who they are. Frankly, and people ask me all the time, and I'll say that officially, I do think the Grid is going to work. I do think it will be a thing. You know, they already have the playoffs for this year, and don't quote me verbatim, but the playoffs are already signed to NBC. So now hear me. They've shown some other matches on NBC Sports, but they actually have NBC Channel 4 for the playoffs. And I think that's going to matter a lot. And I think it's a good thing. I do, man. I think I implore people to go watch a live match. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, you know. And so it is good, man. It's helped us. I don't know if the Grid has really helped us with sponsorship so much yet. Just being honest, I just don't think it is really. You know, most of the companies that we go after don't really care. Okay. You know, so
that's interesting. You know, kind of my follow up to that was, you know, is there a negative impact because, say, Grid has, you know, specific uniforms that are already, you know, sponsored by, you know, High Lead or whatever, or is there any negative impact from, say, the CrossFit Games and, you know, their relationships with Reebok and stuff like that? Do those kind of exclusivity things within the sanctions kind of negative impact you and your deals?
I will answer that by giving a humble brag. Yes. Every athlete in the Grid who does not have a sports agency representing them got trolled over by that. From athletes who their CrossFit careers, in my opinion, are probably almost ruined, to losing sponsorships. You know, when you're signed by a big company and then you go to the Grid, a lot of them didn't read their contracts, you know. Last year, the contract stated that if you got a sponsorship during a certain time, you had to pay the Grid League part of that money. People didn't read that, you know. For my athletes, they are as good as can be, man. My athletes know they don't have to pay out anything. I mean, they got to wear the gear, but tons of my athletes have sponsorships with other companies, and I you know, we work that in the deals. You know, it's life, man. You know, you could have. I mean, come on, every sport has a clothing company sponsorship, so it's not like that's not new to us. Like, you know, you go play in the NFL. Is it Nike? I think the shoes and the jerseys are Nike in the NFL. But tons of those guys are sponsored by Reebok or another, or is that one dumb? They always act like they're compression gear, but they're not. What's that company called? Armour. Something Armour.
Under Armour.
You know, a lot of players are sponsored by Under Armour, but, you know, they have to go wear Nike during the games, and so it's totally okay. But I do know, I'll tell you one story real quick. I know a great CrossFitter who's made it to the games 3 times that is on one of the Grid teams, and when one time me and him had a chance to talk, and I'm not his agent, and, you know, whatever, so it's... But he told me about, like, the deal that he had on his team, and, dude, it was just crazy. I mean, I just couldn't believe that that people would even agree to this stuff. But then I realized, like, well, these people don't know what we know. You know, I mean, we represent a large gambit of people, so we have a lot of things to cross-reference and figure out. And so I do feel bad for the athletes that don't have representation, because I guarantee their deals are literally 1/8 of most of our deals.
Wow. So you mentioned Monster coming into the kind of functional movement world, which is news to me, which is really cool. Are there any other companies out there that are kind of trying to make it in that haven't quite made it yet, or that people might be surprised about?
It's good. Yeah, no, it's good. You know, honestly, man, I'll say no. You know, I would just say no to that. I know tons of the bigger companies that, like, you know, that we grew up on, that still don't want anything to do with CrossFit or functional movement. I mean, that is for sure still the norm. CrossFit, I joke, CrossFit and, like, grid functional movement, it's still like that new hot girl to high school where, like, everyone's still just kind of watching her to see, like, what's her deal? Like, why is she here? Just, you know, is she really that hot? Is she just new? Like, a lot of sponsors just look at functional movement like that and just go like, wait, I don't understand exactly. You know, I think it's a little bit, and this is all my opinion, I think it's a little bit too because Dave Castro and the head-ups of the grid are all doing things the way that they want to do it. And so I think a lot of bigger companies are like, you know, who the freak is Dave Castro? Like, who the freak is Tony Budding? So there's just a lot of newness to it. And so I would say, no, it's definitely still not appealing at all to these bigger companies. Monster is something that I literally have been, like, holding their hand to make this happen. Like, and so, of course, like, when people get wind of it, they, like, will text me or call me and be like, dude, like, can I? And I'm like, nope. No. I am not letting anyone else touch Monster until we make this perfectly happen. And so, I mean, I'll tell people, my hope is that Monster will be involved with functional movement by January of 2016. Like, that's, like, our big plan. And, of course, I want them involved through my athletes and, you know, and stuff like that. So, but no, man, I would say, honestly, the vast majority of companies are still just literally like, you know, people forget, man, these bigger companies, they got so much, they don't care, man. You know, like, I tell young, you know, when people talk, people talk about the Nike Reebok thing, and people don't understand how little functional movement is to a company like Nike. Like, they just, and I say that, and a lot of people go like, oh yeah, no, I know. No, you don't. No, you don't. I mean, Nike probably literally spends more on their annual house cleaning of their offices in Oregon than they spend on their shoes. I mean, let that sink in. You know, I mean, and that's not a shot at Nike. Trust me, I have all the Metcons I can get. I love Nike. I'm a little bit more of a Nike guy than I am a Reebok guy, only because I grew up playing basketball and I just love Nike. But, I mean, so people have to really understand, I mean, it is very small what these big companies think of functional movement. You know, we're still working in the tens of thousands when it comes to sponsorships. I mean, that's nothing. I mean, you know, I tell people all the time, right now, functional movement in ranking, we're the BMX of the 90s, and we're the MMA of the 2000s. That's where we're at. And every year that can change. But, I mean, you got to remember, man, young people don't realize that. You know, in 2001, 2002, you could barely find MMA on pay-per-view. I mean, there's disgusting pornography on pay-per-view in 2001, 2002, and you couldn't find MMA in 2001, 2002. In BMX or motocross or surfing, we were just a bunch of idiots who were getting in people's way. Me, as a person who surfed, I was an idiot kid who almost killed the 40-year-old, even though I was 30 yards farther out than he was. I mean, I remember literally having people that would wave me in and go, what are you doing? Like, you're going to hit me. And I'm like, ma'am, I'm 30 yards that way. Like, I'm not going to hit you. And for you, I'm sure you're just that annoying, pesky little guy who kept riding at Stater Brothers and they wanted you to move, you know? So we are still those pesky little people to all of the top. I mean, forget the top 500 companies in the world. I mean, the top 1,000 companies in the world, we're still kind of like that pesky, annoying little, like, kind of like little gnat that's still hanging around. So.
Yeah, gotcha. Very interesting perspective. Let's see. I've got a couple more questions here. Getting back on track to my notes here. One, maybe you got a funny story, maybe not. Have you ever turned away a company or just kind of told them, like, no, we can't do that. That's too cheesy. That's too lame. Like, I don't want my athletes to, like, come across like this. Can you give me a story about that?
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, for sure. I mean, you know, you get this stuff where, I don't know, like, all right, I guess I shouldn't laugh as much. It's my company, so it's my personality. It's things that I probably think are dorky that other people would be like, dude, that's sick. But yeah, dude, okay. I would never laugh at a company. If a company came to me, no matter what they represent, dude, if they were honorable people and I had an athlete who wanted to represent that company, for sure. Like, what do I care? I have no disrespect, man. Again, this is America. People work hard for stuff, man. And from a gas station to a construction company to a lumber yard to anything, if someone came to me with a decent proposal, and if I could make it happen, I would never disrespect them over that. I do have people that think that they have like the cure for cancer in their hand, and then when they tell me the idea, I just go, you're kidding. Like, you have to be kidding. I think the most basic examples is, for some reason, a lot of companies in the Midwest want our athletes from the coast to do more of like a sensual or like sexual advertisement thing, and that always just is like crazy to me. Like, listen, none of us are stupid, man. Obviously, we could all get on social media and see how a lot of women in functional movement use sexuality to get, their sponsorships, and dude, go for it. It's just not how we do things exactly. I get it. Like Chelsea Grigsby, sure, she's attractive, got it. And sports bras and shorts are a part of our thing. But no, you're not going to find Chelsea straddling a couch anytime soon. You're not going to find between Kenny and Jon. Trust me, it gets pretty annoying talking about how good looking they are after a while. But we have a lot of good looking athletes. I mean, honestly, man, we have this guy Mike Hernandez. I mean, we get companies that come after him a lot because he's a very handsome Hispanic guy, and companies want that demographic. But they have to have more of a plan than hey, we'll pay you $10,000 if they do this photo shoot for a company that has nothing to do with functional movement. We just don't accept that stuff. We have one athlete. His name's Pete. And Pete is a coach at CrossFit Horsepower and CrossFit Stay Classy in San Diego. Okay, Pete is literally a male model. He's literally a male model. He's done advertisements for, Lululemon and just all these companies. Even his career, I have to say at times, but Pete, you're a CrossFitter. And so I want to keep things focused on that. We're not here to, we had a call for Jon Pera for an underwear company from the East Coast. And they wanted to pay a legit amount of money, fly us out there, do all that. But it has nothing to do with functional movement. We're not a modeling agency. We're honored and we're privileged. But, yeah, man, no, we definitely say no. Same thing with the athletes. We turn down way more than what we accept.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool. So we're going to start wrapping things up here with the section that I call quick hits, which is kind of rapid fire questions that I tend to ask all my guests the same questions. So you being a busy guy, you got your hands in a lot of buckets, you got your businesses and everything. How do you decompress and just kind of unwind from the stresses of life?
Yeah, for sure, man. Honestly, I love CrossFit. I do. I love working out. I will work out 3 hours, 4 hours a day, no problem, any day of the week. I can't always do that, but I for sure work out. I work out Monday through Thursdays, and then Saturday mornings. So if I didn't have CrossFit, man, I have to smash weights. I get loud. I turn on, Dr. Dre's brand new album, Compton, and I just get nasty in that place, man. And I have some good friends that I train with, and we just go ham. So working out for sure, for sure is a huge thing for me. And then, I don't know, man. I probably need to relax a little bit more, to be honest.
Cool. So if there was a movie made about your life, what would be the obstacle or the hardship that you kind of had to overcome in order to be the man you are today, or in order to achieve the success that you've seen in your life thus far?
Wow, man, look at you. What a question. I think at one point in my life I had to learn how to treat people better, for sure. I just think I just got caught up in my own stuff, and I think I realized it in my early 20s. But then I think in my mid-20s when I just realized, man, you need to stop. I just felt like a lot of my love for people was always at a very, what can I get? And I just feel like in my mid-20s I had to just stop. And not because I had to, it's because I wanted to. Life, again, depending on your ideology and your theology, life is what everyone thinks it is. But I think one thing we can all agree on is that life is just better if there is a genuine respect for each other and for each other's perspectives. And I just felt that my attitude was just not appropriate. And so I think changing my attitude was probably my big hurdle. Still is my big hurdle, but for sure was my big hurdle.
Cool. It's cool that you can be so open and candid about that, so I appreciate that. Have you had any mentors throughout your life?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have. for sure. I would say, do you want me to name them or tell like?
Yeah,
quickly?
just kind of tell me what the relationship was like between you and somebody that helped guide you throughout your life.
Yeah, his name is Jim Ferraro. This one guy, successful businessman, and I've always needed help with money. I was always the young entrepreneur. I was always the younger guy. I was never the norm at the table, ever. I was always the kid. I was 22 with a general contractor's license, which never happens. I mean, now they've changed the law where you have to be 30 to be a general. And I'd walk into these tables tattooed with my attitude, and I just didn't know what I was doing with the money. I knew how to build a home. I just didn't know how to handle money. So the gym has helped me with my life insurance, retirement, 401ks, learning how to handle that stuff. So he definitely helped me with that. I think for my my morality and who I am as a person, I have two friends. I have a lot of friends that I think I'm really fortunate to God that I've had in my life. But there's one guy named Adam. He's actually a music pastor at a church here in the town that I live. And he's just been a great compass for me. He's cool. He's fun. He drinks a beer. He's a normal guy. He's in a band. But when it comes to how I treat everyone in my life, he has just been such an influential voice where he's been able to say to me, with love, just been like, hey, Josh, nah, man. I think, honestly, dude, owning businesses is great. But there's a lot of downfalls, and one of the downfalls is no one in my world really tells me no. And I know people are probably like, "Oh, that's awesome." It's not awesome. I mean, it's awesome when you're 18, but it's not awesome when you're 33, and it's hard to get people around you to put you in your place. Mm-hmm. And half the people I'm around, I employ. The other half, I financially benefit in somehow. So to have people around me that are just like, "Nah, Josh, you sound like an idiot. You just embarrassed yourself. Don't do that." So Jim and Adam have been huge roles in my life for sure.
Cool. That's an awesome introspective look at kind of evaluating yourself and being able to realize it about yourself and stuff. And I think people can really take away from that, listening to this, cool. that you should look at yourself in that respect. And I'll give a quick little cheap plug here. You were talking about the finance stuff. I'm super interested in finances myself. And I did a podcast with kind of my personal financial mentor that really helped get me on track. So if anybody wants to go listen to that one, I forget what episode it is offhand, but his name's Jim Matouche, and he gives some really, really good insight. Because my theory is that, in our society right now, nobody teaches us how to manage money in high school or in college or anything. And I do want to be successful, and so many other people out there do want to be successful. But, there's a 30 for 30 documentary about it on ESPN called Broke. So many people make it, and then what happens to them? They just don't know how to handle it, and they fall apart. So learning how to handle that early on is super important, I think. So that's cool that you had somebody helping you out with that as well. A couple more questions. When do you feel like you get hit by inspiration or ideas the most? What type of environment is conducive to you to get inspired?
Yeah, that's easy. Anyone who knows me, dude. So I don't sleep a lot. I'm not a night owl. I'm up all the time. I do sleep, but I probably go to bed on average around 3, and I get up around 6:30. It's probably why I look 40, and I've looked this way since I was 19. At night, man, I move at night. I'm a dreamer. On a side, I totally have a faith in God. I totally think that there is a God, and I say that in the sense. So I love thinking. I love just thinking from perspectives. I am the kind of guy who literally I think about things from every perspective, and I try to really understand. I try to really think, and I try to really. But I don't do it to waste my time. I do it to get a better concept of what the heck am I doing in life. Mm-hmm. So at night, for sure, that's when I'm at my peak. I'm firing on all cylinders. I move very fast at night, and so that's very conducive to me. I'm a huge coffee guy. I drink coffee pretty much all the time. Shout out to Starbucks. Definitely drink coffee all the time. When I'm at home, my wife knows to have coffee brewing, And inspiration, let me just be honest with you, man. I don't want to say I am who I am because of these people, but how do I say this? I only, my wife, Nicole, my 2 boys, my brother, some of my closest friends, and then, my staff here, Richard and Ariel, all these people have such roles in my life, and you have to have that. You have to have that. I'll say this, and you can stop me, man, when I go on too much, but I tell people all the time, like, we watch a movie or we read a book, and the story is so enthralling to us. And then we watch these movies and we read these books, and then we go back to our lives and we sit at a desk and we just do what we're supposed to do. And, or you go to a global gym and you put your headphones on and you do your workout for an hour and a half, and then you go home and then you watch another movie and you get so inspired, and then you have your dinner, and then you go to sleep and you start it again. And then when the weekend's over, you collect your, and I just implore people to understand, like, that is not the literature of our lives. Like, that is not what we are meant to do. That is not what, people look at me sometimes, or a guy like you or anyone like us, people will look at me, and it used to be such a compliment when people would say, like, man, it's so amazing, like, that you can do what you do, like, good for you. And now I almost kind of take it a little bit as, like, kind of like a blow-off, or, like, kind of as an insult, because I just want to say to them, like, dude, I wasn't born this way. Mm-hmm. Like, I wasn't born with, like, this sugar rush, or, like, this. Dude, I could be as lazy as anyone. Like, I mean, trust me, I joke all the time, like, there's a part of me that would love to be, like, fat. Like, I would love just to be lazy and kind of eat all I want. Like, I haven't had fast food in 4 years. Like, I would love to have fast food. Like, some of it looks delicious. Mm-hmm. But I just have a drive that when my story is told, I want people to learn and to know from my story. Like, I want them just to really understand that when Josh is done, that I was more than my finances or whatever. There's this movie called Blow, B-L-O-W, with Johnny Depp, and I love it. It's about a drug dealer. It's a real-life character, and at the end of the movie, it's a very sad ending. And in the movie, it talks about how, money is like the wind. We don't ever own it. It's not to be owned, man. It's like the wind. You can facilitate the wind, but at the end of the day, the wind is on its own. And so I definitely don't want to live for money. I don't make my decisions based off money. And my passion comes from the passion of life. It doesn't come from dude. If no one ever knows about me when I'm gone and dead, I'm okay with that. But I do want people that I come in contact with. I don't want them to be happy that they met me. I want them that they have more joy in life because we had a connection and because we had a story to tell. So,
very cool. So that'll be a good segue into my next question is, do you have a favorite quote or some words you live by, or maybe a favorite piece of advice you've ever received from somebody?
No, for sure, man. I mean, for sure. I think some people will be kind of. I think religion is in a weird place in this world. I really do. I think what people think religion is way off. I just do. I mean, I studied religion for 4 years. Every religion. I studied it for 4 years. There are definitely some biblical, like, Judeo-Christian verses that I love. That I live by. There's one that says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. And I don't want to I'm not trying to get in someone's case about their stance on God. But I do think that I don't think this world just happened. I don't think it just blew up and showed up one day. And so I do think that there's something better and greater than us. And so it does matter to me how I treat people. It just does. And here's the thing, man. If I'm wrong and there is no God and there is no heaven one day, who cares, right? I mean, I'll just die and it will be over. Mm-hmm. But if there is, it's not that I want credit or I want, like, a gold robe or whatever people believe is in heaven. I just want to be able to just say, like, no, man, I treat people with respect. And sometimes when they didn't even deserve respect, I treated them with respect. There's a quote by C.S. Lewis, great author, where he says, we are souls who were given bodies. And it's just that simple. And that means a lot to me, because I think sometimes we take care of this so much. And don't get me wrong, it took me a long time to do this hair. So I definitely take care of this. But, I mean, we are souls. And I want to take care of each other's souls. And the body is going to do what it's going to do, man. I'm going to get fat and lazy one day. Like, it's going to happen. But my soul, I want to keep that as sharp and intact as I can. And then the last one is just that money is like the wind, man. You never own it. So to make moral, conscious decisions based off financial stability, you will never be financially stable. I would say that to every young person out there. You will never be financially stable. So do something that you love, because you will never just wake up and go, oh, good, I have all the money I need. Now I'm happy. That day will never come.
Got it. Very cool. Well, thank you for the time today. Please go ahead and plug your social networks or your company's websites or anything else you want to give a shout out to.
Thanks, man. Hey, I'll be really honest. Up front, if you are an athlete, and I don't care what ethnicity, what gender, your age, if you think you got it, I want it. It's the truth, guys. If you think that you can keep up with the best and you're disciplined and you have it in your soul, we have our website, rxactionagency.com. There's a thing that you can click and you can email us and bring it on. I mean, we get a lot now, like I said, and we turn them down. But who knows? If you think you got it, bring it. I'll meet with you. We could work out. I have a whole process for you. So bring it on. Our Instagram is RX Action on Instagram. My Instagram is J Solorio, JSOLORIO. Our app is RX Action app, RX Action app on iTunes and Google. And and just to anyone out there, if they heard this and they want to talk business or life or athleticism or whatever, find a way to get a hold of me. Say why you want to talk. Please don't just email me and say you want to talk. Tell me why, because I get hundreds of emails and half of them are trying to sell me something, and those people I don't want to talk to. It's the ones that actually genuinely have questions about life that I want to talk to.
Cool. Well, all those links will be in the show notes of this, and of course you can find that on theexpansionprojectpodcast.com. While you're there, please check out the affiliate links on the right side of the page. Be sure to click on the NutriSumma banner. You can get 20% off of all your supplements and proteins from NutriSumma.com using the promo code FatTony1. And of course, you guys can always follow me on my personal social networks, and that is just at FatTonyBMX. I'm pretty active on Instagram, but I'm on Facebook and Twitter as well. And until next time, Josh, thanks again for making the time today. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you over the next event.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.